Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Empowering Female Leaders in Esports and Gaming panel. Today, I have 6 incredible women here. We are going to chat about all things gaming, the gaming industry, and what it's like to be a woman in this space. I am Leonie Leonard, and I work for the gameHERs, which is an organization. Okay. We are a community of women. We are 2 years old. We do all things that amplify the voices and celebrate all the amazing things that women are doing in the gaming industry. And we've just kind of come together today to get an insight of what it's like to be a woman in this space. The good, the bad, the ugly, all the amazingness that comes with that. And we are going to get started by introducing you to our panelists. So, first up, we have Sari Keitlin from Full Sail University.
Hi, Sari Keitlin. I'm here with Full Sail. I currently oversee Full Sail's esports program. I developed it starting in about 2015, and we've been evolving it and growing it since. We have a strong focus on helping our students get jobs and careers within the esports industry. We're a specialized university with degree programs in entertainment, media arts, and technology. So we have a lot of folks that are here for game design programs. We've had game development programs for about 30 years now. So gaming is our entire culture. And we get a ton of students that are kind of coming in and really want to learn skill sets that are within the entertainment industry and apply those to careers in esports. So we have a heavy focus on those efforts, and we're really excited to talk today.
I thank you, Sari. I am super excited actually to be here in person with Sari today because this is the first time we've actually got to meet in real life. And the reason why I'm here is because Full Sail hosted the Esports Invitational of the Special Olympics yesterday. It was something else. Honestly, it was an amazing experience seeing the kids coming in and competing with other kids from all across the country. And congratulations to Full Sail, a big successful event. And next up, we have Jasmine from Team Inferno. Hi, Jasmine.
Hi, I'm Jasmine. I'm the founder of Team Inferno. I'm also a content creator, primarily on Twitch and TikTok. At Team Inferno, we're currently focused on Apex Legends competitive and content creation. We notice a lack of representation for marginalized communities, and we're dedicated to creating a safe space for us. This is especially apparent in the competitive side of things. In Apex Legends Global Series, the $5 million tournament, there are hardly any women or people of color in the professional scene, and we have the opportunity to change this. Not only that, but there's also a lot of toxicity in gaming communities, but the Inferno fam, that's what we call our community, we pride ourselves on actually being a family. We're a community where people can build genuine bonds and friendships and support each other for who they are. And honestly, it's rare to find gaming communities like that you can really call home, especially competitive ones. So yeah, we are the change we want to see.
Thank you for that. And we are going to get into that a lot today. Next up, we have Arena from Washington Justice. Hi.
Hi, I'm Irina from the Washington Justice. I'm the communications and community manager for the Justice. Sorry, we got a title change recently, so I was just like getting used to saying that. And here at the Justice, we are the Overwatch League team for the Washington, D.C. metro area. And I've been with the Justice since the summer of 2019, so almost 3 years. And it's just been great learning so much about the DC community with the gaming and both on the education side and recreational side, and then building its online community to the point where we just have so much fun inviting anyone and everyone and creating a safe space for gaming nights for people who are a fan of the Justice.
I love that. Thank you. And next is Danielle Johnson from the Texas Scholastic Esports Federation. Hi, Danielle.
Hi, I'm Danielle Johnson. I am in Dallas, Texas, and I am the executive director for the Texas Scholastic Esports Federation, and I'm also part of the executive team for the Interstate Scholastic Esports Federation, Interstate Scholastic Esports Alliance. We are teachers from all across the country that help to provide esports and video game opportunities in schools.
Amazing. Thank you. And our next panelist is Lindsay Wagaman from Harrisburg University. Hi, Lindsay.
Hi, guys. I'm Lindsay, and like Leonie said, I'm from Harrisburg University. I'm currently a senior there studying esports management, and we have a really cool ecosystem there where we have a varsity team called the Harrisburg University Storm. They compete in Overwatch and League of Legends, and we're also adding a Rocket League team for the upcoming year. And we also have an esports club where students who may not want to compete at the level of the HU Storm can come together and kind of join together to create a community of like-minded gamers. And then we also have the esports management major, which was added, I think, 2 years ago, and it's still growing, and it's been a great addition to the university. So esports is like everything we do at Harrisburg, and it's great to be here today.
Awesome. Thank you. And I actually had the pleasure of meeting Lindsay and Jasmine a few weeks ago at the CECC event in Atlanta, which was super exciting. And last but very not least, we have Jen Dawson from CDW Education. Hi, Jen.
Hey guys, great to meet you all and great to be here. So I am Jen Dawson. I am one of our esports solution specialists here at CDW. And I specifically support our education verticals, so both K-12 and on our collegiate side. So one of our main focuses here is to ensure that we're helping customers and guide them through the process of starting an esports program, whether they're just getting their feet wet or whether they've got a program that they are ready to take to that next level. So one of my specific responsibilities is to work with our different partners out there. So, all the big players like MSI, ASUS, Acer, all those guys, but also people like Leonie from gameHERs. So just making sure that we're aligned with the best people in the space so that we're making sure that we serve the best for our students' needs. So great to be here.
Thank you. All right, well, we are going to get stuck right in. And the first question I am going to ask Danielle, and that is, can you give me a 1-minute summary of what esports looks like in your specific area? So over to you, Danielle. Oh, you're muted.
Of course.
There we go.
Dallas-Fort Worth is esports central. It is a big community in this area, and we actually get together quite often. So a lot of the esports business and community leaders. And so what it looks like for us, for kids, is trying to get these programs into schools like basketball and volleyball and baseball are in schools so that all kids have an opportunity to participate in these things. We know that this connects kids to school and to each other, which over the past 2 years has been really hard to do. And it also means that we are preparing our students for potential jobs in the industry as it flourishes in North Texas and all across the state.
Amazing. Thank you. And just as you're talking about, esports being kind of recognized as, the other sports that we have, such as basketball and things like that, I think that's what was really special about going to the Special Olympics yesterday as well, is seeing that it's kind of finally being included. And, the Special Olympians that might not play basketball or swim and things like that are being included by being offering a sport that they like and that they enjoy. So it's really great to see. We're so excited to see how esports is kind of being brought into, the younger kids' schools and other kind of off-school activities. So thank you. Lindsay, how about you?
Yeah, so at Harrisburg University, like I said, esports is kind of everything. So we have those 3 main tracks of our varsity team, our esports club, and then the esports major. Not only do these bring students to the university and bring current students together, but it also kind of shows that the university is growing through the student interest and esports interest. Harrisburg University is only about 20 years old, I think, or 21 years old. It was founded in 2001. So being such a young university, they're positioned really well to bring esports in and grow along with it. And they actually have grown really well. So just last year, our esports club gained 55 plus new students, just in that academic year.
Wow.
So Harrisburg is really growing with esports, and it's really great to see.
Love it. Thank you. Sari, what about you? What does esports look like in your specific area?
Sure. So for us, we're in a pretty unique situation. Like I mentioned, Full Sail, all of our degree programs focus on the entertainment industry. So like, for example, one of our first ever degree programs was in live event production. And our programs are all tailored to the industry. So you won't really find traditional degree programs. With Full Sail, you'll find specialized ones. The student body is obviously a little bit different. We're not seeing a lot of folks that are coming in without really knowing what they want to do yet. Our folks are coming in knowing exactly what they want to do. So we're a unique situation in regards to that. But what I've always said and what we've seen is, I believe esports is really an evolution of the entertainment industry. I know a lot of people talk about it as a vertical, but I more talk about it in terms of an evolution. And so a lot of our grads and our people that are graduating from the program, students that are kind of coming in, that became a prime area of where they were starting to get jobs, especially live event production students, obviously, because esports live events are the largest live events now that we have in the world. And so when we started seeing that happen, it's really kind of come full circle to us, that we really wanted to make sure we went through and formalized everything that it is that we do. So I always kind of try to lead with the mindset, without trying to break anybody's hearts, that I love how much you love esports. And that is a wonderful place to start. But we need education and experience and knowledge and everything to believe in the foundation to really go and work and support in this industry. So loving something is great, and loving something is a wonderful place to start. We do support competitive teams here, but that's not necessarily our focus, just due to the structure of our university. And so it's that added conversation of, I love you so much, but you are 22, so you're not going to be a pro player. What are you going to be? Let's make sure that turns into a career that is valuable, and that takes into account your education, that takes into account the experience. And honestly, we feel an obligation that we're putting the best possible people back into this industry. I know for all of us here and beyond, like, this is our baby. We've built this industry is growing and being built as it speaks. And a strong investment into making sure we have the right leadership that's coming out of school and really continuing the, fight forward to grow this space, make it a really more inclusive area of opportunity, continue to evolve the technology that we have in this space, and honestly bring innovation to what has existed for decades, is really going to happen with this next generation of kids coming through. So excited to just really shift that focus to them.
Well, thank you. And I can definitely say that from being at Full Sail this week, you guys really have the best facilities and resources for students looking to go into that space. It's really cool to see. If anybody is interested, you should come and visit Full Sail. Jasmine, what about you?
Yeah, so Team Inferno, since we're a startup esports organization, we're really focused on competing and our content creation. On the competitive side, like I said, we're focused on Apex Legends right now. We would love to expand later, but we're trying to establish ourselves in like one game at a time. We have 3 competitive players, and they like do scrimmages, like tournaments, pretty much anything they can get themselves into weekly, like all the time, to be just constantly competing. We actually were just about to go to a LAN in California. I'm not sure if we're still going to be doing it, but it was a $5,000 tournament. It was going to be our first time going to a LAN, and they were actually all going to like meet each other in person for the first time, because everything for us is like all virtual. So it was going to be like a really exciting opportunity. I'm not sure if it's still going to happen right now, because Apex Legends is just having some issues at the moment, but we'll see. Hopefully we can still do that. But on the content creation side of things, we pretty much all stream on Twitch. There's about 5 of us as content creators. We're really like passionate about building like our personal brands and communities, but also like coming together to like help all of us grow together. And one way that we do this is like we host events. So we recently got access to private tournament lobbies in Apex Legends, and we started doing this thing called Inferno Fam Fridays, which it's like basically community game night, and there'd be like 60 people in a lobby, and we're all just like having fun together, like meeting people, just having a good time. And That's like a weekly thing, but then we have more like quarterly events. So recently we got to partner with Intel to host a $3,500 kill race for our community, and that was our biggest event so far. And the top prize was like 2 laptops, and it was just like really exciting for the community to participate in. And then this month it's Pride Month, and we're actually gonna have something to celebrate that toward the end of the month, assuming the Apex Legends issues right now get resolved by them. But yeah, like just, hosting tournaments, competing in tournaments, like it's just a really good time all around.
Thank you, and congratulations on all of everything that you're doing. It's really incredible, and thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Jen, how about you? What does esports look like in your specific area?
Well, I kind of touched on it a little bit before. So, working specifically in the education sector, it's funny. COVID slowed down a lot of stuff, but it didn't slow down anything with esports. If anything, it helped ramp it up, and it showed the need for these kids to be able to connect with one another. And that's one thing that's really been great about esports is the fact that you can reach a lot of kids that would normally not be participating in, your traditional sports. I mean, it just brings everybody in. And what we're starting to see too, originally it used to be just, maybe the senior high, and then going on into, your college levels. But now we're even starting to see it in middle school, starting with maybe even things like Minecraft. And it's really blowing up and in a good way. So what we're doing from our side is we're trying to make sure that we're directing schools in the right way, starting them out, whether it's, just their first baby steps, getting a club going or jumping straight into collegiate. And the other thing that we talk about with them too is we try to make sure that they have a plan. So are they going to be, maybe doing some curriculum? Are they going to tie that in? Do they have any connections with local colleges or schools? So we just use our vast reach to make sure that we can give them the tools that they need to succeed. So, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. And lastly, Arena, what does esports look like for you in your specific area?
Yeah, I think esports on the professional level is definitely looking forward to like bringing everybody who has loved esports together in person again. So it's been awesome planning and seeing events actually happen. Like this past weekend, there was the CDL event in Toronto, and then 2 events in the Dallas Fort Worth area with the Overwatch League and DreamHack. So that's definitely the move we've been seeing with
Mm-hmm.
going back to live events and bringing everyone together, trying to find avenues and ways for not beyond like the major leagues to be showcasing their talents on stage as well.
Absolutely. And I think it has been incredible over the past few months to see us kind of getting back to normal life, and the events are really kind of taking up speed where, we had PAX in Boston, we had the CECC event in Atlanta, there was DreamHack, MomoCon. There's just so much going on right now, and it's really cool to see that everyone, is getting that opportunity to experience these things in real life. For me, PAX was my first big event, and oh boy, what an event it was. It's just so nice to, meet people face to face. All right, Lindsay, I am going to come back to you and ask, what are your favorite parts about being a woman in this space?
Absolutely. So, one of my favorite things about being a woman in esports is being able to be a leader and role model for future students and girls interested in this space. So, one of my goals has always been to kind of bring in the next generation of esports professionals and kind of garner their interests. And one way I've been able to do that is through an internship I had with Emerald Esports here in the Lancaster, Pennsylvania area. And I helped develop their programming for girls in gaming, which was a 6-week program that we had students from the Pennsylvania area come in and kind of learn about esports careers and STEM career skills through esports. And they got to plan their own esports event. So being able to kind of be in that space and in a position where I can help kind of garner, like I said, that next generation that's coming up behind us and kind of show them the pathways that they can take is probably one of my favorite parts.
I love that. And I think, it can be such a male-dominated space sometimes, so it's easy for the younger generation of females to feel like it's a space where they might not be able to thrive. So for us to kind of, acknowledge and celebrate all the amazing things that women are doing in this space is really cool and gives them an idea of what they can do. Sari, how about you? What's your favorite thing about being a female leader in this space?
Aside from the short bathroom lines, I'd say my favorite part about being a woman in this space, honestly, is how many other amazing women there are that are getting into this space and paving ways and kind of finding opportunities for them. I am a behind the scenes person. I thrive in that situation. I love it. And it allows me to kind of get a lay of the land and like start meeting new people and identifying opportunities. Honestly, my absolute favorite thing is when I can find people their dream jobs. It's not necessarily part of my job, it's part of my passion. And so like knowing how many, what I think there are is incredible opportunities for women in this space. And sure, it might be or it is a bit of an uphill battle, and we've got our own things. It's also an incredible community, the women in this space, and they really lift each other up and support each other and really mine through like the constant level of just growth and sharing and support that's received, that more women, I'm proud to put more women in this space. And so I think my favorite part about being a woman in this space is being someone that people can identify with, whether it's as their mother or as somebody that's doing what they want to do. But, being someone that people can identify with and helping them find that path so that they can continue to do greater things than I already have.
Yeah, and I can attest to that, obviously seeing the communications that happen, among the women in the community at the gameHERs, whether it is in the Discord, on the Twitter page, in the app, just seeing the support that women show for other women who are, got that job promotion or applied for that internship. And it's really incredible to see just them all kind of come together and be kind of like, yeah, go girl, you got it. And it's just a really nice kind of good feel factor. And it's also really nice to see so many of our male allies, coming behind the women in this space and really supporting all the cool things that they're doing and kind of asking, what can we do to help as well? Sari, I'm actually going to come back to you and ask you this question. We know that research shows that young girls do game competitively, but for some reason we do see that kind of significantly decrease over time. What can we do to help them kind of stay in those communities and keep moving forward in competitive play?
Sure, that is the $1 million question. And I think it's something so important to the future of the esports and gaming community. If we really want to see more women leaders in this space, then we really have to do more to foster that growth starting early on in the K through 12 experience. And I think it really starts with providing safe spaces. And the biggest thing that I think is important is I think there are so many things that can be identified as a safe space. So I love a lot of the, like what Jazz is doing. I love these women communities that are really coming together with women's tournaments and that support and that organization. I think that does so much to know that while I might be uncomfortable here, I can always go to this space that welcomes me and that makes me feel safe. The more of those opportunities that we can continue to provide for youth at the K through 12 level, I think we'll continue to evolve that. But there's a secondary component to it that I think is super important. And it is that we talk a lot about toxic behavior and we talk a lot about toxic communities within the gaming space and within the esports space. And, when we started kind of at Full Sail, obviously we experience it. It's experienced everywhere. And there's a lot of things where it's that, it won't be tolerated. There's a lot of statements that are made when something does happen. And there's a lot of conversations about why that was not the right thing to do. And, an organization might say, we do not align with what this person said. But we need to take that step further and we need to educate, especially in the K through 12 space, how to combat toxicity. I really want to believe that a lot of this toxic behavior is, a series of microaggressions. I really want to think that people are not out there really just trying to attack or really trying to create this tough space for marginalized communities to live within. I would want to hope that if they knew what they were doing, that they wouldn't be going in that direction and they wouldn't be necessarily doing that. But we need to also teach all genders, all communities at a young age is how to combat it, how to identify someone else that's being toxic to a group, or how to identify someone else that's doing something that might offend, whether it's you or whether it's the people in your community, and what you can do to dissipate that, what you can do to move forward from that. And that level of education, I think, is something that's really needed at the youth level. So providing those opportunities for women at a young age and girls at a young age, I think is key, and it's the strongest thing that we have going for us right now. But educating the existing communities of other genders and making sure that people are more welcoming and supportive and that they know what to do when something comes up, I think is a really big opportunity for all of us to really be able to build a healthy space from a young age.
Yeah, I agree with like everything that you said there. And I think that obviously starting at the root, is crucial, and kind of getting into that younger age group. I've had so many conversations about the same question that keeps coming up over and over again. Why do we see so many more males competing competitively in comparison to the females? And people will say lots of different things, but one thing that does come up over and over again is the fact that the younger males are playing a lot more, from that younger age, because they're being encouraged to do so, whereas the girls are kind of being encouraged to do something else, follow a different path rather than gaming. There's a lot of misconceptions that surround gaming. The list could go on. I don't want to start rhyming off, but things like you can't get a job in gaming. It's a fun thing to do. It's a hobby. It's not a career. But Danielle, I would love to ask you the same question. Why, we do see that kind of competitive play decrease a lot in female competitors as they kind of get older. What can we do to change that?
One of the things that going back to your previous question, love about being a woman in this space is that as a woman in education, that's most of education. And so when a lot of esports clubs pop up, it is women that end up running them. And we're seeing a good portion of women educators step up and be sponsors for these clubs, or these teams, even if they don't know much about gaming. And it has been really great to see a lot of the male sponsors and male managers of these school teams find a female to co-sponsor it with them, because just having another woman in the room makes the room a lot safer for girls to come into. And so that is something that we are really trying to encourage, is that you at least have a female co-sponsor with the team. That way it is just immediately safer for girls and for cisgender identifying people to be able to join the space. Another thing that we really want to focus on is absolutely ending the toxicity by educating students about how to be upstanders and how to call it out, how to stand up to their friends and tell them what they said was wrong, but also having a restorative process so that one strike and you're out, like when you say something and you are just immediately kicked out. Those zero tolerance policies don't allow for education. And so it is educating that student, occasionally that adult, that what they were doing was inappropriate, and then having a restorative process where they can make things right and then be reintegrated into the group. So we don't ever want to alienate, because you can't educate when you're doing that. But those are some things that we are really trying to do. Our programming is for students, but teachers are our main customer. It's our main demographic that we work with, because just like with basketball or volleyball, it's the actual teachers in the schools that are running these programs.
Awesome. Thank you. I think that, you really hit two very important points there. The second one I'll talk about first is how, the zero tolerance kind of policy, it really doesn't work, because, as the saying goes, we learn from our mistakes, and you can't learn from your mistakes unless you get feedback on that mistake, see where you went wrong, and then know how to move forward, right? So if you say something or do something, it could be subconsciously, you might not be aware of, the impact that your words might have had or what your actions might have had. But if someone actually sits you down, talks to you, and explains to you how whatever it was that you said or whatever, you did actually impacts another person, that's when you really start to think like, oh, I didn't think about it that way, or, I was unaware of that was what was happening. And then they've got the opportunity to change that. But if they're just being cut off straight off the bat, then they don't have that kind of space to grow. And then the other, topic really important that you talked about was the importance of having women as part of the staff, whether it is, on campus at esports teams, in gaming programs, in esports organizations, and things like that. The gameHERs launched their collegiate program back in January, and I've had so many amazing conversations with coaches, directors from colleges all across the country, and who are really making a big time effort to change the kind of dynamic of the staffing on campus. And a lot of the feedback is that, whether it's at open houses and things like that, if they have a female staff member there, the level of female students interested in the gaming programs and in the esports programs is increasing to a crazy level. So it just shows that, when people see other people who look like them and kind of represent them, they're more kind of excited to get involved and, want to get involved, because I guess they'll feel like they're, will fit in better if there's other people that, are similar to them. Jasmine, what about you?
Yeah, so I think an immediate and really effective solution would definitely be more women's leagues. So obviously I'm really passionate about Apex Legends, but this is seen in like other titles like Valorant, Rainbow Six, CS:GO. But in Apex at least, there's been so many women for so many months and honestly like years now that's been pushing for EA and Respawn to add a women's like league like at the highest level. Apex Legends Global Series isn't like exclusive for men, but like I said, there's like hardly any women in it. And part of the reason is like just how we're treated whenever we do try to get into it. So there was this one moment a few months ago where men were just saying like women can't be in-game leaders, IGLs, and it's like I don't know, you would think like that's like such an old way of thinking, like we can't be leaders, but it's like people really still feel this way. And like competitive gaming is such like a communication heavy thing to do. So if you can't even like your call out won't even be like listened to or like heard or cared about, like how far are you really gonna get? Like it's just it just doesn't feel worth it at that point.
Yeah, and I think that the fact that all of us are sitting here today proves that point to be wrong. There's many amazing kind of female leaders in the gaming industry, and I'm so happy to be alongside a great group of them today. Irina, I would love to ask you, in regards to esports competition, like Jasmine just talked about, where do we begin as an industry as a whole to ensure that kind of gender, equity in competitive gaming?
Definitely. It's just seeing the equal amount of support for what they have presented for their regular competitions and like physically actually making space for women to compete in. I know that yes, the one I'm most familiar with is Valorant creating their women's league and putting in the prize money and the time and as much broadcast assets as they would do for a regular VCT sort of stream and reaching out to all these groups. And it's also a great and excellent like incubator for these teams to develop and grow and get that experience so then they can also compete in VCT as well. It's like a great sort of pathway that they have created to help like foster an ecosystem that will become self-sustaining in the long term. So definitely on the professional side, just treating both sort of leagues and creating those leagues for people because there are so many women who want to compete and like even create like a little pug team if they want to try and dip their toes into what competitive level gameplay is like.
I agree. Thank you. And I think that, there's many different things that not just we can do, but, partners of gaming tournaments and things like that can do as well. Just recently, I had a really good conversation with someone about their kind of thoughts on, how we can make it more, what we can do to support women in gaming when it comes to competitive play. And a lot of them noted the fact that they think, when they see gaming tournaments being advertised and things like that, the cash pool prizes for male tournaments are often quite higher than what they are for women tournaments. And, I guess that's just something that we're going to keep pushing, and moving forward with. We did see a makeup brand a few weeks ago do a Apex Jasmine tournament, which was awesome. It was an all women's tournament with pretty high cash pool prizes. So seeing more things like that, I think as well is really kind of going to encourage women more to participate and, you know, put themselves out there and show off their skill, because there's so many incredible competitive players out there.
Yeah, I think, sorry, going back to the prize pool thing, I think it's also like what I feel like a lot of the times it's just like, what can you do on your personal level to contribute and like further this industry is just, if you should be watching women competing as well on your own time. Encourage other people to watch it with you. Treat it as if you were watching one of the higher league levels of play together, because in the end, these metrics do really matter. Like, as much as like there was a conversation this weekend about how viewership numbers don't matter, they do matter because it's the only sort of metric that a lot of these sponsorships see and understand. So it feels very baseline to do even your part to contribute as a viewer and understanding and getting to know the scene. And then you know a lot more about some upcoming players in the game that you enjoy watching.
I love that. Thank you. I am going to go to Danielle. Do you have any kind of specific tips of you know, what you can do to foster an inclusive environment, you know, wherever it is that you work? So whether you work at an esports organization, whether you are a esports coach on campus, what kind of specific things can you do to kind of foster that inclusive environment for everyone?
Should always call out sexism and ableism when you come across it. So, and get good at it, because when we're just talking about women's tournaments and watching women play, that chat can turn toxic so fast if you don't have strong moderators. But having a community that is participating in the chat and keeping it positive and keeping things respectful can go a long way towards reinforcing that community standard. So behaviors get ingrained when they are reinforced. And if a person is toxic, that means they have been reinforced to be toxic. And so if we can, through our community, change that behavior and change that reinforcement, we are going to be able to change how people interact with women in this space. So just being active in the community and calling out stuff when you see it, get really good and really comfortable about calling it out. Even if there's a woman there and she doesn't call it out because she may be intimidated, she may just be tired of doing it. And so definitely men in the space can be major allies, not by being white knights, but by being upstanders.
Yeah, thank you. I just seen that someone put a comment in the Twitch there as well about mods are a must. You know, and I do think I agree. I think that having mods, you know, just be a part of your stream and things like that is super important, just to kind of keep an eye on what's going on and just kind of make sure that everything is super happy and positive. Jen, what about you? Any specific tips for what we can do to create these inclusive environments for everyone?
Yeah, definitely. And I'm actually going to cheat a little bit and pull from, there's a advocacy group that supports diversity. They're called Any Key, and they actually put out a white paper, which I feel like is a great starting point, especially for people who want to be allies and learn a little bit more. But a few ones, you know, perform a diversity audit and, you know, create a plan for that inclusion. You know, provide a code of conduct and enforce it. So it's really kind of what everybody's been saying so far in this webinar. But really, you know, find your champions. We had a convention where we had some students come and speak, and we were listening to about how the different ways that they got involved, you know, into their esports program. And a couple of them were like, well, my friend told me about it. They pulled me in, and I 100% would have been that kid. I would have been, you know, playing at home, but too shy to make that jump in. So having your students be those advocates to pull them in and be like, hey, you know, I heard you like to play games. Why don't you come check it out? And just making it feel like there's a very safe environment for them to be in. I think that's huge, as well as just having that representation. I mean, it's really important, but highly recommend checking out Any Key. They have a white paper on it. I'll see if we can link it after the show. But they list out about 12 different things that you can do, just starting that road to including more diversity and ensuring that you're having that safe environment.
Lovely. Thank you. I'd love for you to share that with us. Jasmine, I would like to ask you, kind of as a founder of Team Inferno, what is that like as a woman? Do you think it would be any different if you were the opposite sex? Do you know, how is being a female founder in this space?
So I definitely really enjoyed a lot. I like having the opportunity to potentially inspire other women to do similar things. As we all know, there's not a ton of women in like competitive or leadership positions in esports. So, just showing people like, we can be successful in this industry too is just like really exciting to me. Um, I also bring a new perspective like into this space by not only being a woman but also a Black woman. Starting a Black woman-owned esports organization is something that like I'm really excited to pioneer. It's pretty rare, and like I'm really excited about just providing something unique, something different that like you haven't really seen too often before. Um, Also, like I bring like a level of comfort to people who are looking to join an organization. A lot of people who haven't found opportunities that they really align with, they can see Team Inferno, and it's like, it's something different, and it's something that they can relate to, and that's like really impactful for a lot of people. I actually have one of the people from our community in chat right now with the emotes. But yeah, like I think if I was a man instead, um I don't know. I feel like I would just kind of fall into the same ways that a lot of organizations have. And it's like, I wouldn't really stand out at all. It would just be at this point, it kind of feels like creating an esports organization, especially in like the content creator world, is like a trend. People just think like it's cool and they just want to do it. But there's not much innovation there. But I think that
Yeah.
Team Inferno is doing something different.
I love that. And you mentioned, that not just being a woman, but being a Black woman founder, but you're also a young Black woman founder. So I think that is a big inspiration for other young Black women trying to kind of merge their way into this space and look at, where they want to go and what they want to do. So yeah, like keep going. You're absolutely smashing it.
Thank you.
I'm so happy that you're here. Let's see. What can others do to help support women in this space? So we briefly touched on that, but maybe as individuals as well, what can we do? Irina, would you like to chime in?
Yeah, definitely. It's just starting from the basic community level. From when we're hosting sort of game nights, we definitely see all genders and gender minorities joining the space because they do feel safe to be with us, especially when it's like a staff member from the Justice participating in the games. They know they won't tolerate any toxicity that comes their way. And even when you're gaming with your friends, what I've noticed from my men counterparts, because I don't use voice chat when I'm gaming, which is unfortunate because I feel so nervous about it. But it's just seeing them stop the toxicity at that level. And once you have a consistent hobby from the grassroots level, it can grow to the professional scene and including them onto these big teams. Like in the Overwatch League, there was only one woman who made it to the Shanghai Dragons as a tank player. And her career was pretty short-lived because of how the attitudes were and the like mindset that they were playing with. So it's a long road ahead, I feel like. But once we are able to see it, the mindset change, and even like my own mindset of like, oh, I'm bad because I'm a girl, but it's like that's not it. I'm just like I'm bad because I don't play this game
Yeah.
enough. um, so growing from that and seeing like teams actually starting to open up to like co-ed teams, and maybe even seeing teams from the women's leagues compete in the larger pool of teams will be great
Yeah.
to slowly integrate more gender minorities into competitive play.
Yeah. And you touched on kind of the kind of mindset that people can get sometimes of, like I'm bad because I'm a female. And I think it's really important, as we mentioned earlier, there's so many different misconceptions surrounding gaming as well. And there's so many kind of different opinions that people have on gaming who just don't know a lot about gaming. I didn't know a lot about gaming 5 years ago. And I can see why people get some of these misconceptions. It's just due to a lack of education on gaming. And I think it's important for us, as women in this space, to remember that these are misconceptions. They're not facts. And just to kind of, if you believe in something, just to kind of keep moving forward and keep your focus and keep doing what you're doing, and you'll get to where you want to be. We're almost coming to the end of our panel, but I would love to ask, Jen, what advice do you have for someone interested in pursuing a career, in what you're doing?
Yeah, honestly,
I want to actually tell people what it is you do first. I'm not going to attempt that because I know that I won't be able to do it justice.
Yeah, no problem. So I work primarily with schools. So like I mentioned earlier, K-12 and the high ed. But I work a lot with our partners. So that's going to be all the big, manufacturers that are out there. I always joke that I have the best job in the company because I get to talk about video games all day. But at the end of the day, honestly, I get to be that supporting role. So usually what I say to a lot of different people is find where your passion is. So, I've always loved to play video games. So that's obviously a big passion, but I'm also a big hardware nerd. So this kind of combines both of those skills. So finding out those little things that you may be good at. Maybe you're really creative. Maybe you like to do different things like podcasts or public speaking. So then there's lots of different routes. So as Asari mentioned earlier, finding, the path that you want to go, get the education that you need for it. So that way you can make sure to kind of hone in on those skills. But as a person that, let's say you're already in the industry, be that advocate, help guide someone, point them to the different resources that are out there. So even pointing to things like different communities like the gameHERs, they're always posting different job opportunities in their forums. But if you're trying to break into the industry, I would start first and foremost, what is it about video gaming that you're passionate about? Do you just like to play? Like I mentioned, do you want to be creative? Do you want to get into game design? Maybe event management? There's so many different routes outside of just the professional player that you can chase. So you just need to really hone in on what you're truly passionate about. And then you can go to places like Full Sail and you can actually get a full degree in something of that nature. So that's would be my recommendation. But there's so many opportunities out there. You don't have to always be the player.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you. Lindsay, what about you? Would you have any advice for someone who is kind of interested in pursuing a career in the same direction that you're going?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty cliche, but don't give up. There's so many times where you apply to a position and either you don't hear back or you just get that rejection letter soon after. So make sure you're still sticking with it. You never know what's going to happen when you send that resume off, when you reach out to somebody cold turkey and be like, hey, do you have any opportunities coming up? Here's my resume. Just keep trying, keep at it, and you never know where you're going to end up.
I love that. Thank you. And it can be easy to give up. I think obviously as the gaming world is expanding, more and more people are getting involved, which means more and more people are applying for the job. So it's getting more competitive. But if you keep going, you will get there. And just kind of staying involved and keep up to date with everything that's going on and keep a lookout on where it is you're looking to find these jobs, and just being prepared, really. Sari, what about you? If a student came to you in the morning and said, in 5 years, I would love to have the job that you're doing right now, what advice would you give them?
The biggest thing I do guide a lot of folks into is they're like, okay, I want to get started in esports, no matter, I focus a lot on the collegiate level, but I'm going to stick with that area. But there are two things I usually recommend as far as legit basic experience to get started on that will really set a solid foundation for going into this space. And it's something everybody needs and something you can always find opportunities for. But volunteer or work as chat moderating and tournament organization. So everybody needs those. Those are two solid things that if you have lands even anywhere close to your area, I promise you they need volunteers and I promise you that they need help. The experience that you get from chat moderating, going on people's Twitch, we talked about the importance of moderators earlier, and watching what the moderators do and then just trying to gain that level of experience is such a wealth of understanding on the fly communication skills, quick reaction time, really being able to check your gut, use your brain, and know, is this a banned term? How am I going to use my bots to really navigate this conversation? And everybody needs it. You can never have too many moderators. I feel like you can never have a strong enough moderation system. And it's a really good way to get involved, especially if maybe you're still feeling a little nervous or uneasy or not a public or forward facing kind of person. It's a really great way to get the lay of the land. Tournament organization just gives you a full front row seat to what the tournament structure and competitive scene really looks like. And you dial right into the organization of things and figuring out how to get the teams together and knowing how much you need to pay attention and look at the rounds and see who's going to come up and what if somebody doesn't show and how are we going to fill this and navigating those nuances. Those are really all strong basic skills, in my opinion, for setting you on a pathway to careers in esports. So there are, like we've talked about, there's so many careers in esports. There's so many different pathways that you could take when you go into this space. And the great thing about this industry is that there is such a need for what those foundation skills are, that it's a really great way to say, and you'll see a lot of different people and a lot of different people's jobs and understand, is that the one that's right for me or isn't it? How did I feel about this? Do I want to try it again? Or do I want to kind of pivot in a different direction? And the other thing I always like to kind of tell people is join as many communities as you can, even if you just want to lurk. There's no shame in being a lurker, but just watch the dynamic, see how others are engaging, observe, when you feel comfortable, jump in. Discord is your friend. There are so many amazing Discords out there. They provide so many great resources and honestly, just great connections. And the more that you know, and the more that you connect and the more that you meet, the more visibility you have into what the opportunities are in this space. And you can do that either comfortably from your home at your computer, if that's where you're at, or there's plenty of, as we've seen, things are starting to come back in person, and there's going to be plenty of those opportunities in person as well.
Thank you so much for that. I feel like I should have written all that down and shared it with all the amazing students in our collegiate program who asked that question. Danielle, do you have any advice for, someone coming up through the ranks who, hasn't interested in pursuing a career in this industry?
Going back to what Jen said about finding out what it is that you like about this space. Yeah. And typically it's the people. A lot of gamers find their community and their friends through the games that they play. And so if it's the people that you're playing with, those are what do they do? What are they also interested in? Because one of the things in college is you don't just have to love the subject, you have to love the people looking, like when you look around the room, because those are the people you're going to end up working with. But as a teacher, I know that I always am encouraging kids to look at different college and career opportunities. I mean, not everyone needs to go to college, but if there are opportunities in your high school to learn those skills. So I know a lot of Adobe certifications go a long way in esports, and you can get those things in high school. So looking at the opportunities that you have right in front of you for education and the opportunities that you may have to create yourself. So there wasn't a league for Texas schools 2.5 years ago. And so I saw it and I, went forward and helped create one. But it's finding the people that you really need and the people that can be your team, and then taking advantage of the opportunities that are right in front of you.
Great. Thank you. All right. I have one more question for you guys, and that is, if you could fast forward 10 years, what would your hope be? Or, what does the future of the esports or gaming industry look like in 10 years for women in this space? Lindsay, what would you like to see the esports space look like for women in 10 years?
Oh gosh.
Maybe 5 years. Maybe 5 years.
5 years?
I think 10 is fortunate.
5-10 years, I think it would probably be the same, thought of like, we want to see more visible women in the space. So whether it's as competitors, as CEOs, or those in the C-suite, to make sure that we see them in those front-facing positions. Clearly, as we're all here, there's so many women in this space, but having them in those positions where they're more visible to people and more accessible
Yeah.
to the younger generations, and kind of seeing that, oh, this is something I can do, and feeling comfortable to coming into this space. So I'd hope, in 5 years we see more of that, definitely in 10 years. Just as the future of gaming and esports develops, I think that's one of the things that I'd love to
Yeah.
see.
That's a good point. And I think that we definitely, as you mentioned, the fact that we're all here, is a big thing. I will say that, I started working for the gameHERs 2 years ago, and a lot of my kind of calls and meetings and things like that would be majorly male at the beginning. But as time goes on, and I can definitely say that personally for me, I'm definitely having more conversations with more female leaders in this space, kind of at that C level, your CEOs, your COOs. And it's good. I think that we're seeing that change kind of happening, but obviously we're still on an uphill battle, as someone mentioned earlier. But we're getting there. Jen, what about you? What do you think, what does the future look like for women in this space? Or what do you hope it looks like?
I love all of those answers, so I definitely reiterate those. But I also hope to see to where we have an environment where girls can just come in and it's not the abnormal thing, that they're there, people don't bat an eye at it. It's just the normal. I also hope that there is, because I can't remember who mentioned this earlier, but I definitely have been one of those people when I game, sometimes I don't go off of mute. And, fighting my own insecurities on those situations, and to where we get to a point where it doesn't matter, where we are all able to openly communicate. There's not this discrimination that just happens. So I hope that we can eventually get to that point, as well as starting it at the lower grades. So as soon as they're, in these K-12 spaces, they're starting clubs and programs, really teaching them early on, and just keeping it into a spot that where, like I said, it's not the abnormal thing. So I hope that we get there.
Thank you. Jasmine, what about you? What does it look like, or what do you hope it looks like in the next few years for women?
So like I mentioned earlier, definitely more women's leagues, with the same level of prize pools. I don't know. I think it's kind of ridiculous, like the outcry that I've seen, at least in the Apex Legends space, for a place for women to play. Like, how is that not like just a normal thing? There's so many third party tournament organizers, but a lot of people are just like unsatisfied with them. There were like two really good ones, and they both stopped hosting within like the same like month or two. And like it's just constant, like, when is there going to be another one? Like, when is EA or Respawn going to like give us a place to play? Like, it's easy for a lot of people that don't experience this to say like, just go compete with the guys. But it's like I was talking about earlier, like, it's not a welcoming environment. Like, a lot of girls don't feel comfortable competing alongside the guys. So like, give us our own space and let us excel there.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you. Irina, any final thoughts on what you think the industry will look like, or what you hope it looks like?
Yeah, I'm hoping to. I feel like a lot of women in gaming as always the nurturer or the teacher to communicate more about how women in gaming should be like. So in the future, I just hope it's more intuitive and more just like part of the norm of the integration of just seeing just some girls in the games that you are playing in, and then also along with everyone else seeing more women in the executive level sort of roles, because there are so many women who are working in the space, but they are usually relegated because it's what they understand and what they are confident in applying to in the sort of community and social sort of roles, but seeing them on the business front and sponsorship leads, because they understand like how to sell those to those people who are looking to get involved in esports. So it'd be awesome to see more women on the business front as well, and understanding that from like getting an education is really important to getting a business degree and seeing how they sell in just any other industry. So just some normality
Yeah.
in how the future will look like would be great.
Perfect. Thank you. Well, ladies, that wraps up our conversation for today. I want to thank all of you, Arena, Jen, Lindsay, Sari, Jasmine, and Danielle for joining us. I think we've had a great conversation. Hopefully anyone listening, picked up some tips and tricks of what they can do. And yeah, hopefully we can get together again soon for another great conversation. Thank you so much for joining us. Thanks to everybody else for tuning in. And we will see you later. Bye.